It's an interesting time for business. Tariff and trade policies are dynamic, supply chains are squeezed, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. If your business can't adapt in real time, you are in a little bit of hurt. So how do you get full visibility and adapt in real time? Over 42,000 businesses trust NetSuite by Oracle, your AI-powered business management suite. It brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. NetSuite is the #1 cloud ERP for a reason. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. Real-time forecasting helps you move into the future with confidence, and with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. You spent months building towards launch day, but when the clock hits 0, your site crashes. Bots swarm, and loyal fans rage on Reddit. That's not good. Fanfare was built to stop that. Fanfare is the drop platform made for high-pressure moments, stampede-proof infrastructure, verified waitlists, and bot filters that actually work. Instead of refunds and rage, you get retention and revenue. And that sounds great to me. Your next launch shouldn't be a gamble. Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook and learn how to bulletproof your drop at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, that's fanfare.io/playbook.
When things are going good, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs that got lucky, that product market fit, but they actually didn't learn, right? It's like people that win the lottery and then they don't get to keep it, because you should pray that if somebody gave you $1 million that you quickly become a millionaire, because if not, you'll lose it. So for me, I always remind myself as I'm doing things and I'm failing, that that's a moment for me to stop, reflect, and learn. So if that's the game we're all playing, and we are as entrepreneurs, at different levels with different, zeros at the end of the numbers, then the question is who do I need to become?
It doesn't matter what stage of business you are in. You should always be looking to figure out how to, in a way, buy back your time. Buy back your time with the decisions that you make. Buy back your time with the tools that you use. And of course, over time, as you scale up, buy back your time with the people that you hire around you. And this is an important conversation that we're having today with my good friend Dan Martell. Dan is a 9-figure business owner. He coaches coaches. He's written books. He speaks on stages. He is an advisor to several different huge companies. And he's here to help us today. And he's awesome also because he's a family man, very, very dearly cares about his kids and his wife. And I hear about them all the time because they're awesome. And I'm just grateful to have him on the show with us today, because he's going to be able to unpack a lot of his advice that is relevant for, again, all stages of business. And even if you're just starting out, this is something that'll get your thoughts around, well, what should I be looking for? And what is the process? And what kind of people do I hire? We even do a little bit of a hypothetical experiment. What if you do hire, or you have come across a few dollars in your business and you want to reinvest it in time? And what do you invest in? And what do you do with that extra time? Well, we talk all about that and more today. And of course, I recommend his book, Buy Back Your Time. I mean, the value proposition is right there in the title. Anyway, you're going to hear a lot more about Dan in the future if you haven't already, because he is just seemingly everywhere, especially as you grow and scale your business. And we also talk about leadership as well, and how to be the best leader possible for you and your team, your family, and more. So here he is, Dan Martell.
You're listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network, a show that's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host. He watches Disney Jeopardy religiously every week with his family. And he's the weakest player, Pat Flynn.
Running a business means legal questions are inevitable. Is this contract or agreement solid? What can I do if a client won't pay me? Am I set up properly for taxes? Well, rather than trying to navigate all of this on your own or searching endlessly online, imagine having a law firm on your side without the high hourly rates. That's exactly what Legal Shield's small business plans offer. With Legal Shield, entrepreneurs get access to real legal support, contract reviews, collection letters, guidance on business formation, and even help handling IRS audits. Members can book consultations, upload documents through the app, and work with a provider law firm that understands small business laws in your state. You also get proactive help on tax and trademark questions so you can stay ahead of legal risks. And if a client delays payment, Legal Shield can send professional collection letters to help you recover what you're owed, all for a fraction of what traditional attorneys charge. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI. While DIY website tools are everywhere, most fall short on design and performance. Hit publish. Framer ships your site worldwide in seconds. No code, no compromises. Framer is a powerful, user-friendly platform that delivers developer-level results without writing a single line of code. Make your designs move and convert with Framer. Framer brings your site to life with powerful animations, dynamic content handling, and a design-first approach that helps your site stand out. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. Browse hundreds of pixel-perfect templates or even design something of your own on a totally blank canvas. Add bold animations like appear effects, text effects, scroll and looping animations, and much more in seconds. And it's free to start. The built-in AI handles the heavy lifting of generating starter layouts and can even translate your entire site to any language. On the back end, you'll get responsive breakpoints, built-in hosting, a flexible CMS, and privacy-friendly analytics. Ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer? Launch your site for free at Framer.com and use code SPI to get your first month of pro on the house. That's Framer.com, promo code SPI. Framer.com, promo code SPI. Rules and restrictions may apply. Dan, it's such an honor to have you on the SPI podcast. Thanks for being here, man.
Oh, Pat, the honor's all mine, man. Just so you know, I love everything you do, and we've known each other for a long time. I was recommending your book this morning, Will It Fly? Like somebody was like, I'm starting a business, don't know what I should do. I'm like, just go read this book because I think it's one of the best books written for people just starting off.
Oh, well, thank you. And then we can pass forward after they start your book to buy back your time, and we can kind of do a handoff there. But we'll talk about your book in just a moment. But why don't you introduce yourself to everybody listening who might not know who Dan Martell is? Obviously, you have such an expertise in the space of startups. You've helped thousands of different startups come and many of them exit. You yourself has had several exits, but what is your superpower? What's your expertise here?
I think my superpower is I love studying topics, trying to extract the kind of minimum effective dose or the 80-20 or even the 90-10, honestly, the 10% that drives a lot of the results, and then share that with other people. And I think in my early start of my career was doing that with software, like using software as my vehicle. And then over time, people, teams, and then now just working with other entrepreneurs, either companies I own I have a $100 million holdco where we buy software companies. So we hire CEOs, I coach them, or I, coach my coaching clients. And it's my favorite thing to do. Like even this conversation, when I look at my calendar, I'm like, what lights me up? It's talking to other entrepreneurs about ways to improve their situation.
So good, man. I absolutely love that. And in your experience with everybody who you've coached and all the companies, like what is the 10% of stuff that they're doing that is working? Because I think a lot of us who are listening right now are starting, and it's just like there's a giant, it's a Cheesecake Factory sized menu of like all the things you could do to succeed and all the different options you have to grow. But what is really working today?
The truth is, Pat, it depends on stage. So a long time ago, I learned that businesses hit break points or what I call complexity ceilings at different revenue levels. And it's in ones and threes. So 100K is the first ceiling, then 300K, then $1 million, then 3 million, and onward. So it all depends where people are at. I would say what is universal is one, the truth is profits solve all problems. If you have a problem that can be solved with money, then you really don't have a problem. And I think most people spend too much time they're busy doing stuff that doesn't drive revenue. And that means then they feel like they're constrained because they don't have enough resources. But if they actually unlocked the revenue area, like I have a person in one of my companies, his name's Vive. His title is unlock revenue. Like that is it. He's a weird cat because he's a copywriter, ad person, programmer, and he just talks to everybody on the team to say like, where are you stuck and how do I unlock flows of revenue? Because again, profit solves all problems. So I would say that's 10%. I think the people side, Pat, I've seen your journey, and like every time you've brought different talent and higher caliber talent. And, when we invest in the people, oftentimes people are like, well, what if I like train this person and invest in this person and then they leave? It's like, what if you don't and they stay? And I think that's always an interesting conversation with people, is just how much time, especially the coaches of the world. Like I coach a lot of coaches, which sounds super meta, but they'll spend 90% of their calendar week coaching clients and talking to clients. And I'm like, how much time do you spend coaching your team? And yet you complain about them that they're not responsive. They don't participate in meetings. They don't move with a sense of urgency. It's like, well, why don't you show them what that looks like? Why don't you coach them no different than you coach a customer? So I think the people side is a big area. And then the other one, that the best of the best, and I definitely learned this, when I moved to Silicon Valley in 2008, was they have vision. They have real clear vision. And my definition of great vision is, if you can describe the future to the same specificity as you can describe your current situation, then people now understand what you're doing and they can figure out how to get there. But for most entrepreneurs that struggle, it's because I don't think they even know what they're doing, right? I don't think they know where they're going. I don't think they understand why they're doing it. And then it just becomes really hard.
So what do you do if you're in that situation? You're kind of not even sure what's possible, or, even doubting your own skill sets. How do you even begin to grow something when you are already feeling like that?
So you give yourself permission to dream. Pat, when I was 23 years old, I like sat down, and this is after 2 failed companies, and I'm like trying to figure it out. And I think I read Good to Great by Jim Collins. And, I kind of read it as a green starting entrepreneur, 2 failed businesses. Like I was worried I sucked so bad I would never be able to succeed. And he talks about, vision and what that looks like. And I just gave myself permission to kind of lie to myself. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Pat. I was like, I'm going to generate 50 million in revenue in 5 years, and I'm going to have 100 employees in 5 continents. Like, dude, I was living in a town of 80,000 people on the East Coast of Canada and had $0 to my name. But yet I pulled out back then Microsoft PowerPoint, and I created this story, this narrative of what could happen. And I remember the first time I presented it to the 3 other people on my team at that time, and they were just like, "Can we figure out how we're gonna get paid? Like, I love this, Dan, but like we're not even paying ourselves." And I'm like, "I know, but we now know what we're doing, why we're doing, where we're going." And this is the other thing. I gave myself permission to change it if it wasn't accurate. If in a year I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just, I tweaked it, but I just kept consistently communicating that vision. And I think that provided at least alignment for people, that without that, it just can feel frustrating, because if you're in the thick of it, of the pressure and the noise of entrepreneur land, it can feel overwhelming. But if you have some level of a vision of why you're doing this and what direction you're going, it can give us some inspiration and motivation when honestly, we don't have a whole lot of proof.
Yeah. I mean, that's so true. And even in SPI Media with our company, we've been a lot more diligent with, where are we going here? What's not just the mission, but the vision, and like, let's actually describe what life is like in 2024, in 2027. Like, how many members do we have? What's our capital look like? And, how much are we making on an annual basis with recurring revenue? And it's interesting because we started doing that once Matt came on board in 2019, 2020, and we've actually been able to hit a lot of those goals, and most of them, in fact. And I think it's that direction that you put in the navigator that allows you to, if you get off the wrong path, it'll tell you to get back on and sort of get you right back where you need to go. But I want to ask you, because it's just reminding me of rocket fuel and this sort of visionary purpose and these ambitions and goals that we have. And that's very much kind of where I am. I'm a visionary. I'm an idea person, but that's only half of the battle. I mean, you have to have integration. You have to have execution. So for somebody who is in that camp of, okay, these are my goals and my visions, but doesn't necessarily know how to execute, where do you go from there?
I have a few thoughts on this that sometimes aren't as, I don't know, not that they're not popular, but like, I think the concept of I'm a visionary and I just need to find my integrator And then that person comes on and like now I get to go out into the world and not pay attention or not do stuff. As you know, Pat, that's silly. Like that's not, somebody still has to be the CEO of the business. And I just run into this all the time with folks that, read a book and then they go all in completely opposite and then wake up in 8 months, 16 months and go, what happened to all the profit? What happened to the people? And this thing's going off the rails, right? I think when you start off, the truth is you won't know how to do things. This is unless people have been doing this for a while, they don't realize it, but you only learn when you fail. People are going to be like, I don't like this guy. But it's just true. Like when things are going good, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs that, got lucky, that product market fit, the same people and the business went, through the roof, but they actually didn't learn, right? It's like people that win the lottery and then, they don't get to keep it because, Jim Rohn used to say like, you should pray that if somebody gave you $1 million that you quickly become a millionaire, because if not, you'll lose it. And I like that concept. So for me, I always remind myself as I'm doing things and I'm failing, that's a moment for me to stop, reflect, and learn. So if that's the game we're all playing, and we are as entrepreneurs at different levels with different, zeros at the end of the numbers, then the question is who do I need to become? Right. And so when you say like, how do I learn how to do this? My philosophy, and I talk about it a bit at the end of my book, because, once you buy back your time, it's like, what do I do with this time? I look at it 3 core areas. Number 1 is the skills, right? Because no matter where you're at, you got to ask yourself, if I'm here now at the beginning of the year and I want to get to there, what skills do I need to go develop or learn or acquire to allow me to operate at this new level, right? Because we don't get what we think we want, we get what we fight for, what we think we deserve, right? So if you feel that you want to deserve this level of leadership, of CEOing your business at $1 million in revenue, then you got to ask yourself, what's the difference between how you're showing up today versus then? So that's the skill side. The other side of it, it's kind of like a ladder, is the beliefs. Pat, the amount of people I talk to and just in their language, the words they use, and they don't even think about it. They're communicating to me that they don't believe that they're actually going to win. You see this all the time, man. It's like, it's language, it's arguments. To me, the beliefs are, what are the worldviews that you have? What are the beliefs you have around these things? Some people have a belief that I don't want to run ads. My product should be so good. People should just want it. It's like, okay, then don't desire to grow 10x, because sometimes you may have to run paid acquisition, right? Yes, focus on your brand, whatever. But so it's like all these weird beliefs on life, leadership, money, partnerships, et cetera. Some people are just horrible partners. They couldn't bring a Matt into their business. These people, because you probably here's what I know. You got some really great success with Matt, and I bet you've gave that same advice to other people and you've watched them not do it, stumble on it. Why? Because they haven't worked on their own psychology to become a person that can be a good partner. That's a skill and a belief. Then once you've got those kind of things figured out, then for me, it's all about the character traits. Because I know a lot of people that have a lot of skills, and I know a lot of people that have a positive mental attitude, and they have 0 character traits that are going to propel them forward. So things like discipline, right? People are like, I don't feel like that. It's like, your motivation doesn't matter. Like to me, I'm not that guy. How I feel doesn't dictate if I get up and do what I said I was going to do yesterday. That's discipline. That's grit. That's resourcefulness. That's tenacious. That's communication. There's character traits of a person that operates at a higher level that I think everybody, if they were honest with themselves, they could probably describe. Like somebody that's running a 10 million a year business probably doesn't cancel meetings with their direct reports. Just saying, throwing that out there. If you're doing that, you should probably stop, right? Because these are just kind of the things that, you value your time better. So like, again, these are all character traits. And I think if you take those 3 things, the skills you need to develop, the beliefs that aren't serving you anymore, and truly audit them, and then lock in those 2 things with the character traits, that's how you figure out how to become better. And all the problems will still happen. You just get to work on bigger problems.
Before I ask you about buying back time and how one might do that in our businesses and what to do with that time, which I know is a struggle, I want to dig a little bit deeper in this with the people that you coach and in this world of business. How much is success related to your mental sort of just positivity and this attitude and the character that you have versus the strategies and most of the stuff that people are looking for, right? We want the strategy or the next book or the next tool or piece of software that's going to solve this problem for us. I want to hear from you, the expert, somebody who's worked with so many people. Like, what does it really take, and how much of it is mental versus, strategy?
Yeah, tactics. Yesterday I went for a walk with my dog, and I love calling my dad. Okay, my dad's favorite thing to do is to ask me about my private coaching clients. I only have a handful, but I don't give names or anything, but he loves hearing their stories and then giving me advice to give to them. And I love, and I just love, entertaining my dad and like talking to him because, someday that phone won't get answered. So I'm very cognizant of that. And we actually talked about this because one of my coaching clients, multi-generational business, okay, they were, I think, third or fourth generation. So it was like the great-grandfather, the grandfather, the dad, and now the son. And he had an opportunity to exit the business, okay? And it was a significant amount. I think it was like $52 million. And, the problem is that the name of their last name is tied to the business. And he didn't feel right selling the business with the name, but the buyer obviously wanted the name because that's the goodwill in the market, right? And he was trying to negotiate out of it because he felt bad for his uncles that were still alive and his aunts that were like on his dad's side, because when he took the business over, it wasn't that big, a couple $1 million. So like over the last 20 years, he's built it into something that's worth, 52 million to somebody. And he just couldn't bring himself to do it. So strategically, I say, here's a simple answer. Find out what they're willing to pay for the business without the name. Now you know the value of the name, right? So let's say they say, well, we'll pay you 20 million, not 52. Then it's like, cool, that's a $32 million worth of value. Then go to your aunts and uncles and say like, hey, I just feel really guilty. I've got this opportunity to sell the business, but I know that, it shares the same last name. And I'm just curious, like for me to feel okay there, I'd want to make it right with you guys, and again, these people, hopefully they're not crazy. Like they know that they weren't involved in building this thing. But I said, find out what they think it's worth. And my gut tells me that total amount of money is probably less than $1 million. And then the problem solved. So Pat, I share this because that's the tactic. Strategically, I call it the math. The math of the problem is very well defined. If you isolate it, that's what it is. The mindset, though, had nothing to do with the math and had everything to do with the personal psychology of my client, right? That is torn of the fear of, what would my aunts and uncles think? And then when we started clearing that up, then they go, well, now what if the person buys a business and then they mess it up and then they tarnish my last name? Oh, that's interesting. Let's talk about. So when you asked that question, me and my dad were kind of pondering it. And I told my dad, I said, I think the number is 90% psychology. I think 10% strategy and tactics. But I mean, the internet is full of information on how to do anything. Pat, you put most of it out. I mean, you've taught everything you've ever taught. Like it's just die empty, right? Like you've lived this life of just giving it. And yet we know people that consume that information and don't take action on it because that's the psychology. And I'm just such a big fan of like, we become our thoughts. And I think that, vision and communication and mindset and gratitude and all these things create so much, Think and Grow Rich, man. It really works. Like every day I wake up and I look around, I'm like, it actually works. It's like, you just need to hold that vision, that belief at 100% of the time. And it'll come true. So I would say it's 90-10, 90% mindset, 10% tactics.
I knew you were going to go there because, and first of all, this is a great story. And I want to have a chat with your dad too. He sounds cool.
He's so cool.
I knew this because on your Instagram, you often talk about, you have a lot of posts about all kinds of different things. I mean, you're a family man. You talk about your family and the way that you raise your kids sometimes, which I really appreciate. And I love your philosophies there. But you often talk about the mindset of the entrepreneur in a lot of your posts, especially some of the ones that go viral or get a lot more reach. And I think that speaks highly to just how much you know about who it is that you're speaking to, because it is about kind of the emotion behind it. And in some cases, you have to take the emotion out of it to do the math and see what's right there. But in other cases, I think the gut matters. You have to listen to what you're telling yourself. And in some cases, even though it might not on paper or by math terms be right, you still have to kind of listen to yourself sometimes too, right?
I think you should listen to yourself a lot. Like I would say it's even more. So to me, it's math and mindset. But I'll give you a story. The other day, my videographer, he travels with me. You know, he watches the way I maintain relationships. You know, Pat, like, you know, we've been friends for a really long time. Like I reach out to you. We try to do play dates. Like I just learned a long time ago, for me personally, like money's cool, but if I don't get anybody to share it with, then how great of a life do I really have? So, you know, I do annual snowboard trips and mountain bike trips and snowbiking trips. And like, so I have like this rich relationship with my family. Every 2 years, we split every alternating year. My wife and I will do the whole family in one house. Hers is in the summer on a lake, and my family, it's on a ski hill, right? So this March coming up, we're going to a ski hill, 18 of us. Like, so I over index for that stuff. And my videographer was asking me like, what's your system, right? Because people read my book are like, man, this guy's process driven, you know, checklists and all that. And I get it. And I said, you're not going to like my answer. And he's like, why is that? I go, I check in with my heart. I literally, if I'm going to Utah, next week I'm going to Utah, I literally just quiet my mind, check in my heart. I ask I'm a person of faith, I ask God, I go, who should I connect with? And I default to whatever comes up. I mean, how often, Pat, you go for a walk and you think of somebody and you just dismiss it. That's not me. If I'm walking out of a lot of people that I know on social media and in person, a person's name just happens to come up to me, I'm like, there's probably a reason. And that's just how I've lived my life. And I've got enough evidence now that it's an incredibly powerful strategy. Yeah, so I've got this thing called Mendy. I pulled it out of this box. My dog ate my previous one, so I had to get a new one. But it's this Mendy band. And the philosophy is we actually have to teach our frontal cortex and our heart. It's called heart coherence because our bodies actually make a lot of decisions. So most people don't realize this, but that's why they say our gut. So to your point, I would say most of my decisions, when I'm truly undecided left or right, and all things being equal, I default to being guided. Every morning I wake up and I create.
Yeah.
And I do that because I want to be connected to my creator and I want to use that to channel. I mean, before this podcast, I sat down and I made some notes of some stories. I asked myself, like, what would Pat's audience want to hear? What stories, what strategies, and just made some notes, and then I'm here. So I do that quite a bit.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. A mix of hard data and heart data. I think it sounds like the answer. I just made that up. I don't know if that's good or not. But anyway, let's talk about time. Time is an issue for most of us because there's only so much of it available. And depending on how we run our day and or run our team, there could be more time available or less time available. When you're working with a coaching client, what is time like for them? And how do you solve for that?
Yeah, it's obviously it's my favorite thing in the world. It's why I wrote a book about it. Here's what I learned is, no matter who you are, if you desire for more, which I think is most people listening to this podcast, then who you are today is not who you need to become to achieve that next level. So if that's the case, then essentially an easy way to look at it is 50% of what you're doing this year cannot be still what you do next year, or you're not going to have the space to grow. It's just like a simple concept people should just consider. Whatever your week looks like now, in a year, if you want to grow, 50% of that stuff needs to be handed to somebody else, given to somebody else. You need to create the space. So when I sit down with my clients, and these, usually I work with folks that are incredibly successful and they're looking for the edges. And we do a time and energy audit. It's part of my framework called the buyback loop. And there's 3 simple parts. Usually people come to me when there's pain. That's kind of normal. You hire somebody when you get better. It's very rare that somebody's like, I just want to get better, so I'm going to hire a coach. But so usually there's pain around balance, integration with their family. Maybe they bought a new company, maybe they had a birth or whatever. And what we do is a 2-week time and energy audit. That's step 1, right? And I look at their calendar and I make them do the audit, but we look at it through energy and value of the task, meaning to pay somebody else to do that task for us. Most people are stepping over dollar bills to pick up dimes all day long. And I can just prove it. It's like whatever your business is making in revenue, divide that number by 3,000. That's technically your effective hourly rate. And anything you could pay somebody else a quarter of that number to do for you is probably like right off the bat, the math side, the hard data, that's right off the bat, just an easy one. So that's the time and energy audit. But even think about just energy of like doing things that light you up. Like I give myself permission. I just resigned from a board. I realized I didn't enjoy going to the board anymore. So I resigned, and now I got an extra 90 minutes every couple of weeks back in my calendar. I can reallocate it. Some people might, have a commitment, or they allow themselves to get on calls too easily with introductions from people they don't even know well. And then they're on those calls for 45 minutes going, what am I doing on this call? Like, just give yourself permission to stop it. So time and energy audit is a big area. Then it's transfer. So once you have that audit done and you look at your calendar and you say, oh, these things are red, so they suck my energy. So that's not good. And then these are things that cost very little, pay somebody else. You take all the red stuff and the low cost stuff and you put them together, and that's the only next hire you should make. So the buyback principle states you don't hire people to grow your business. You hire people to buy back your time. Because if you do the second, you get the first. But if you do the first, you definitely don't do the second. And that has been my truth. I mean, I made the mistake so many times where I got big and I got financially successful, but then my life looked chaotic, right? Whereas now the way I built all my companies, I use that principle as a guiding North Star. And the bigger it gets, the more time I get. That's a crazy concept for a lot of people to believe, but it's true. So transfer step 2, how do you take those things and give it to somebody else to do, and their strategies around that. And then the third part is fill. Once I get that newfound time, what do I do? Not go hang out on a beach, not go crush another season of some of your favorite shows on Netflix, but actually reinvest that time strategically in becoming more so that you can deal with more, right? Like, I'm not a 4-hour work week guy. I'm a build your empire guy. And my definition of empire is a life of unlimited creation you never have to retire from. And that's the kind of life I want to live.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point. There are people who are listening to this who want a little bit more of a lifestyle designed business where with that fill time, I mean, it might not be sit on the beach sipping pina coladas kind of time, but it's also not, okay, let's add more work to my plate now either, right? And again, this is going to who are you and what are your goals and what are your visions? And if you, however, are like Dan, an empire builder, what would be if, let's say, for example, somebody who's, let's do some hard numbers here. They're in the $300,000 range, right? So they're at that level in their business. And they now have just hired people to buy back their time. Like you said, they're following the strategies in your book. And now they have an extra 3 to 4 hours a week to work with, which is amazing. What would be the best use for that time?
Reinvest in yourself. So it always starts with your energy. So health is wealth, right? In my coaching, I call it belt buckles and bank accounts. Your belt buckles shouldn't go up and your bank account shouldn't go down. So start with you, your energy. So like if I wasn't working out and I got an extra 3 hours a week, I'm taking an hour and I'm going to the gym, right? And because I know that energy is going to show up. I mean, just the confidence, the certainty it brings, you're going to be better for your team, better for your family.
This theme comes back all the time, this idea of your health is your wealth and the investment in yourself so that you can then better serve others. We will often, especially the heart-driven entrepreneurs listening, they'll take that extra time and put it into their clients. They'll put it into their families. And that's important. However, if you are not well enough to be able to take care of any of those people, then you're just actually doing them a disservice, right? You need to put the mask on yourself first before you put it on others. And oftentimes for starting entrepreneurs, there is sacrifice made on health and sleep and other things to get to that point. I love that answer. It's like, okay, as soon as you finally get that time back, okay, now bring back yourself to your best version of yourself, right?
Yeah, Pat, I mean, people have beliefs. I was talking to a woman the other day, and when I told her this, I said, what's the big vision for the business? She's like, I want a triplet. Cool. What about your health? Because she admitted to me that she had been like 45 pounds overweight. And she's like, I'll get to that later. Okay. No. And it was funny because I said, the healthier I got, the more money I made. She goes, I don't think I believe that. And I go, I agree. You probably don't believe it. And it's actually a self-sabotaging belief that you have. So imagine this. Imagine if you believe that the more I grew my business, the more unhealthy or more weight I would put on. How hard would you show up? How determined would you show up? How tenacious would you be in solving problems to grow your business if you knew the downside is I'm going to put on weight? You wouldn't.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. People have these beliefs around like, if I grow, I'll have less time for my family. Not necessarily. If you don't get better, 100%. If you don't learn the strategies I teach in my book, 100%. Like that will happen because you are not good enough. But Pat, nobody wants to hear that. They don't want to hear the language. You're just not good enough. Because if you were, you could. So my philosophy is, and I teach this in the book, is the perfect week. So I'm not asking anybody to work more. Like I only work 36 hours a week, but I'll tell you those 36 hours are very, very well thought out, very deliberate, very focused. And I run a multi 9-figure empire. Okay. So like there's no limit to how much you can do in the time. But I also joke with people, I spend millions of dollars every year to buy back my time to scroll TikTok. Like that's true. I literally choose to lay on my couch sometimes for 45 minutes just to decompress at the end of the day, scroll some TikToks, get but my content's pretty fun. Like it's either comedians or motivational pieces of content. But that's, when I look at where I invest my time and energy, that's how I do it. So I think beliefs is one of those things that stop us. So I would say that's number 2. So like step 1, work on your health, have a higher capacity and energetic feel. And I love that you brought this up. Here's what I know about health, because I used to be 265 pounds. I was like 40 some pounds heavier. Now I just finished doing an Ironman on Sunday. I've done 4 years I couldn't swim. So like I was super unhealthy and I got that in check. Once I had kids, I realized, hey, this is not just about me anymore. And when I was sick, I had one goal, get healthier. And then when I'm healthy, I have 1,000 goals. So some people just don't wait until you're sick or you can't. I mean, literally, I remember asking this woman, I was like, well, how bad would it have to get for you to decide to make it a priority? She said to me, I'd have to be in the hospital unable to work.
Jeez.
Not in the hospital. She added unable to work. And I'm like, this is going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of fun together because, I see all these things surfing to the top. And then I would say the third hour it's the skill. So it'd be like 1, the health, 2, spend an hour on the beliefs, right? Read The Psychology of Money. There's all these great mindset books. Reread books. I only read books that are written older than 1940s because all the new stuff kind of was written about that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'd say the third one is figure out what skill you got to go develop. If it's how to operate a business, read Traction by Gino Wickman or Rocket Fuel or, just like consume the information to develop the skills to then bring that to your problems. And man, those 3 hours would be just so better invested. Again, that's not that. But if you're working 100 hours, no, take those 3 hours and go spend time with your family. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, if people are workaholics, they were doing it wrong. Like I'm not that guy either.
As we close up here, this has been fascinating. Thank you again, Dan, for the time today. I want to ask you, because I have you in the room here, about the future. Things are changing really quickly. We've all heard about AI and have seen it and feel it. From an expert startup supporter, coach, thought leader, how can businesses future-proof what we have going on now? What are the things we need to look out for that might be dangerous? And what's exciting that has got you energized today about the future?
For me, it's all exciting. I've been into the AI stuff before, last October when GPT-3 came out. Here's the way I look at it, because I teach a lot of my coaching clients specifically because they're like, hey, a lot of the stuff is kind of being done by AI. And I go, agree. So the way I think about it, and this is a caveat, until Neuralink, right, or somebody decides to create brain-machine interfaces so that now we get connected directly to AI. If that happens, all of this is off the table. But what I know to be true is a lot of the work we do right now around, even content creation, Pat, people are reshooting old courses. I would say wait, because I can create a generative video, a generative voice, and all of a sudden, not only can I reshoot all of your old content with the new version of you, not the 15-year-old older version of you.
Yeah.
But then I can also license, right? Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, who's that guy? That was me. But you can also license other people's material, right? So all of a sudden now you can, in your own program, have the best Facebook stuff, the best speaking stuff, the best whatever, because you can license it and you teach it, but it's not you, it was the AI. So that's interesting. Then when you look at multilingual, then it's like, oh, now I can sell my IP. So I think there's going to be this whole new, especially for content creators, this new future platform of intellectual property and that kind of stuff. And then when I look at just the business intelligence side of the world. So like, let's assume all the data collection and sorting and all that stuff's figured out, like the accounting stuff that I still, I have a team of people that do, but I wish they didn't have to do it because this to me seems like an AI thing. That'll all be sorted. Then it's really about predictive stuff, right? And it's like running financial models and looking at the data. So I think that's where like Google probably has an advantage because they have a lot better structured data than most. Let's say even if that world and is it 16 months or 36 months? I don't know. It's definitely coming. It's not going to slow down. Like humans want the faster iPhone. So let's just assume that's coming. Then what doesn't change? And this is where I call it neural transformation. As long as people still don't have the ability to jack into the AI directly into their brains, then they will always be the wet mind, the computer in your brain. That's going to be the limiter, right? So what are some things that will always be true if that's the case? Well, becoming a great leader, becoming somebody that inspires other, better communicator, building your brand. I mean, I've just watched you absolutely crush it and inspired me. I mean, I've decided in the last 6 months since the book came out, like I'm making every other business I'm involved in secondary to my personal brand because that is something that has force multiplier impact of leverage on all the other stuff. I'm friends with Alex Hormozi and watch him do the same thing. Yeah. So I just think like the skill set around storytelling, the skill set around communication, around your own psychology, that will never change. And then the tooling is just going to make the ability to produce outcomes a lot easier. But I mean, the AI stuff that I'm looking at, it's literally, it's science fiction, but it's here today, like all of this, like, sometimes I wonder, it's like, am I talking to an AI? Like, is this,
What if you were? I just programmed this earlier, but no, I mean, no, this is, and I love what you said there at the end, which is like, I will always be me, you always be you. And the connection between us is always going to be something that AI can't really replace, or at least not yet. Right.
No. And even, and this is the thing, even with like music, like a drummer you can hire a robot to drum the beat and it sounds robotic, right? A real musician understands the energy exchange and the soul, right? Mm-hmm. And that's just going to take a lot of compute power to make that happen. I'm not saying it can't, but right now, I think what it gets us is really good first drafts of things. And then the human, that's like when we talk about the heart, dude, it's like you can tell when somebody created something from the heart, the food, the music, the content. And I just think that's never going to be replaced. Never as in next 36 months, probably not replaced by AI.
Asterisk, great. Yeah. And this is why, I mean, I feel like the things that I've wrote in my book, Superfans, are really important. These are the human connections that you can make with your audience that now in this day and age where a lot of things are being automated, a lot of things are auto-generated, the human parts of that will stand out even more. So hopefully we're all injecting that into our businesses and at the same time not overextending ourselves and being able to buy back our time. So definitely check out Dan's book. Where can we go and grab it, and where else can we go find your work, Dan?
Yeah, my favorite place is personally Instagram. I just love the platform. So Dan Martell, 2 L's of Martell. And if people follow me and then send me a message, just tell me you came from Pat Flynn. I'm not doing this for everybody. I'll send them my internal EA playbook, my executive assistant, my like literally Google Doc, no opt-in, no nothing. Just mention EA, Pat Flynn.
No, you're just tracking to see how useful this time was for you, right? Because you track all your time and you want to see how.
No, I just teach it, so I have to do it. You know how it is. And then buybackyourtime.com is the best place to go get the book. It'll redirect you to Amazon, Chapters, wherever you like to buy it. The Audible book, I actually read myself, Pat, and I put bonus content at the end. So I like really double clicked on it. But yeah, honestly, if anything I said, supported, I would love another reader. I mean, you've written books. It's like, it's such a cool thing when you meet somebody that's read your book, and I'm just super honored.
Hey man, I'm honored too. Thank you so much. Looking forward to connecting, not while recording, so we can just chat about family life like we always do. So I appreciate you, man.
All right. We'll talk soon. Thanks again.
Wow. I told you this episode was going to be bonkers, and Dan went so deep with so many of these things, and the hypothetical was great. I love what he said about hiring for your time versus just the skill. Like, how much time is this particular hire going to buy you back so that you can understand how you might reinvest that time into something else? Or, like I often say, how do you take a break and just not fill that time in? And either way, you are buying that time for a reason that'll reinvigorate you in some way, shape, or form. So anyway, definitely check out Dan's book, Buy Back Your Time. And check him out on Instagram, Dan Martell with 2 L's. And he just offers such amazing advice. And he's just such a kind person. And, he'll randomly text me just to check up on how I'm doing. I just love that kind of stuff. And so, Dan, I appreciate you so much. And I appreciate you, the listener. And this episode, I think, is going to be extremely relevant, especially for those who are inside of our SPI Pro community, a little bit more established business owners who are communicating with each other, who are partnering with each other in there. This is the kind of episode that can definitely help them achieve the next level. So if that's you, if you are in SPI Pro, there's a lot of you, this one is for you for sure. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And again, check out the show notes if you want to get all the links and things mentioned in this episode at smartpassiveincome.com/session743. smartpassiveincome.com/session743. And like I said, be sure to subscribe because next week, to finish off the year, we have an episode with Ali Abdal, approaching 5 million subscribers on YouTube, the world's leading expert on productivity. And the theme being, how do you actually enjoy being productive? Let's find the joy in that. Let's do that together next week. So hit that subscribe button. Let's finish off the year with a bang. Here's to an amazing 2024 together. Cheers. Thank you so much for listening to the Smart Passive Income podcast at smartpassiveincome.com. I'm your host, Pat Flynn. Sound editing by Duncan Brown. Our senior producer is David Grabowski, and our executive producer is Matt Gartland. The Smart Passive Income podcast is a production of SPI Media and a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network. Catch you next week. More people dream about building their own business and being their own boss rather than retiring early. But a majority of them never even take the first steps to register the business. Why? Because starting a business can feel overwhelming. With legal forms, paperwork, finances, it's a lot. And that's where Taylor Brands comes in. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal and business assets separate from day one. And from there, you can get access to everything you need to get off the ground, from legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, our listeners get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. Just head to taylorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI. Stop dreaming, start building with Taylor Brands. I get it. You want to grow your business, but selling at scale feels overwhelming. You're drowning in complicated funnels, creating different lead magnets, or constantly posting on social media. And that gets exhausting fast, especially when you're trying to sell to hundreds or thousands of people. But what if you could sell at scale with a simple, powerful quiz? A score app quiz or assessment asks your audience key questions and gives them instant personalized results based on their answers. Your audience gets to know where they are now and shows them the steps they need to hit their goals. You can set up a quiz in minutes using Score App's templates and have a powerful lead magnet that'll do the selling for you. The best part is your audience actually wants to take this quiz, and you build huge amounts of trust before you even make a single offer. No hard sales, no chasing leads, just value at scale. Get 50% off the first 3 months using the discount code SPI. Just head to scoreapp.com/SPI. Again, that's scoreapp.com/SPI.